I'm delighted here to be joined by Ryan and Alex on the Bolster podcast
Hello, hello.
today. Hey, hey, good to see you boys both. We are going to chat about what the Bolster experience is like. There's been many of you that want to see, what does the first 90 days or, first month sort of look like with Bolster? How can the team here internally support you and to reach your business goals, to win more jobs, and to get estimating faster? So, yeah, I'm delighted to be joined by Alex and Ryan, as I've said. They're the customer support managers here at Bolster, and both of them have been working with many clients to help build out their accounts and also get people started on Bolster. So, welcome to both. Why don't you give us a quick intro? We'll start with Ryan. How are you going?
Good, good. Things are going well. Extremely busy here. Obviously, sales are quite robust this month, and we've been onboarding and working not only onboarding new clients, but obviously working with a lot of our longer term, longer phase clients as we go through here. That are in different stages of onboarding or learning different modules in different areas of the software. So yeah, very happy. And then, luckily most of the clients we deal with are, eager to learn and utilize the software to its full extent. So it's very, very encouraging.
Nice. Thanks, Ryan. Yeah, awesome to hear that. And hopefully keep you busy with a
Very.
few more sales coming through. How about yourself, Alex? Give us a quick introduction.
Um,
It's onboarding has been great so far. It's we have been working with clients that are also eager to learn, which is the main thing that we're looking for. But what we're also always suggesting on these onboarding kickoff meetings is to really remember what that why is and why they jumped on Bolster. Because the software can do a lot of things, and some of our clients can get um, overwhelmed sometimes with how much stuff is actually in the software. So that's basically what I see in the past couple months. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah, well, that's a good place to start, really, is like, what is the transition like,
Mm.
from what you've seen with clients and how do they get into that mindset of like, okay, I'm adopting a brand new software. I do things manually. What can you speak to what that transition's like, Alex?
So with with the software, when a client is actually logs into the software and actually sees what we have, what is the main thing for them to remember is um, navigation. Like if they can focus just on the navigation and just know where to find things, um, that will kind of take care of all their other things that they're looking for, right? So once they get the navigation down, it's super easy from there because they can find things what they're looking for and kind of put an estimate together like a puzzle.
Nice, sounds good. And from your side, Ryan, what's your experience with dealing with some of these guys and what are some of the tips and tricks that you'd recommend?
Well, you know what? The funny thing you asked that, Dan, but I dealt with a couple different on various ends of the spectrum the other day. What really helps, and unfortunately, is guys that are used to using computers and softwares, either came from other estimation softwares or even your basic Excel spreadsheets and whatnot. That really shrinks the learning curve a lot. But again, we deal with guys who have not used any other softwares or again new to the computer realm and construction estimation softwares. But I think the number one thing is to pony on with Alex the navigation, but also obviously the eagerness and the want to sit down and utilize the software because again you're not going to get out of the software until you know what you're going to be putting into the software. So it's a little bit of a give and take. So to know what you want out of the software, putting in the time to set things up right, and with the base of knowledge really helps out your learning curve a whole lot moving forward.
Yeah,
Okay, that's
and
great. Yeah.
that's just to add to that, like some of our clients come in and sometimes they're like, oh, I have to make sure this is fully set up before I can use it. And usually that's where we see a lot of clients get overwhelmed with the software and they're like, oh, and so they kind of lose the why they actually um, um, join Bolster, right? So it's the main thing is really like just trying to make sure they're doing what is the basics, why they jumped on Bolster, and just kind of go from there.
100%.
Okay, so how can a contractor best prepare, for for their first couple of meetings? Like, what do they need to bring? And how, how can we make that transition as fast as possible? Do you want to start there, Alex?
Um, First things first, like maybe the first meeting to be on a computer. That's usually um, like us working with almost or maybe over 400 clients now. Um, that's the if the first meeting is on a computer and we can get set up the base with the basics, using it on a phone or iPad moving from there is much easier, right? So that's the first thing, just kind of seeing if the client can actually make that meeting on a computer in an office, because then their attention is actually with us. Because sometimes we have some clients who are driving and on their phone, and we can still go through the basics, but it's not the same if the attention is split.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Anything else they should sort of bring, like I'm talking about, like price list or,
Absolutely.
things like that. You
Absolutely,
want to
Dan.
speak to that a bit?
Yeah, totally. Again, uh, on to exactly what you said, Dan. We should be coming with a plan, right? Everybody wants to accomplish in Bolster, and we see it here a million times. They want faster estimates, which we can definitely do. They want to have automated workflows and all of those kinds of things that Bolster can definitely do. But again, you want to come with a plan of attack, how you want to get that done. So whether it be a price list, some sort of overview, or a kind of a plan of what you want your first estimate to look like. What do you want it to include? What don't you want it to include? Do you prefer doing things on your own, or do you want to rely on some of the pre-built stuff that we have that they might not know about? But again, the biggest thing that really stunts the growth in that initial learning curve is contractors coming on without a proper plan of attack of what they want to do and how they want to accomplish it. And with that, with what Alex said, is set aside time to accomplish that. Set aside some time to come up with a plan that you want to get out of Bolster. Not just the overall view, but more of the micro view of what you want to accomplish. Set aside some time during the meetings and after the meetings to implement that plan. With our assistance.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I think it's really good to talk about, having some business goals because, you guys are
Yeah.
there to try and help them reach those, obviously. And I think it's really good, just to have it. And even, for a lot of guys, they quote differently to others. Everybody's going to quote differently, and that's where it's going to be a little bit of a bespoke system,
Mm.
that
Mm-hmm.
is what we offer.
100%.
Um, and I think, how do you guys traditionally approach, someone coming in for the first time? Hey, maybe they do know their prices and they've got a bit of a list. How would you typically approach building out, that first proposal for them?
Um, just before I answer that question, I just wanted to mention with that setup, adding on to Ryan, like sometimes we have clients who come in and they don't have any price list, right? So leading into this question, then like we can then kind of utilize what is pre-built and then just kind of go from there and add on to that, right? So I'm going back to my first answer there on navigation, because if they can find these templates, and it's super easy to put estimates together,
Mm-hmm.
even if you don't have preset pricing.
Yes, good point. Yeah, maybe later on, let's have a look at some of those templates. It sounds like it's really a plug and play experience, or that's what we've tried to achieve with it.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously you guys do a great job to lead them into that, but at the same time, having a plug and play experience for someone who doesn't know their prices or, isn't as experienced with it, that's
Mm.
certainly a massive advantage when coming on to Bolster. But yeah, in your experience, Ryan, like what's, sort of been your experience setting up that first proposal for a guy, or a first estimate, I guess.
It's interesting you say that, because again, we deal with so many different contractors on different ends of the not only knowledge scale, experience scale, and whatnot. And what again, me and Alex have been doing this now for years with hundreds of clients. What we really do is within that first 10, 15 minutes of meeting a client, we get a real good feeling of what kind of contractor they are, what their knowledge base is, and what their tech level is, and what they want to get out of the software. That's why we ask them certain questions and so on and so forth during that initial kickoff meeting. So by saying that, once we get that kind of base knowledge, then that kind of we know now because we've been doing it for a long time now. We know then how we want to build out those first estimates, that first template, whatever it happens to be. It could be a proposal that they need to send out right away, or it could have something that they are going to build for future use. But again, it really comes down to our experience and knowledge base dealing with so many types of contractors and knowing where they're at. So again, it might be something very on the more simple side of things. And I always reference to with all of my clients, we want to start simple on everything we do. And again, once you gain knowledge and experience and confidence in the software, then we can start utilizing some more of those higher end tools and a little more, fancy, right? But we see so many times where clients are going, they try to do too much right away and they jump into that deep end of that swimming pool and don't know how to swim yet, right? So we want to help them with those tools early on and help them navigate simply and effectively so they don't get overwhelmed, right? And that's where we start seeing frustrations was when clients get overwhelmed. So circling back to your initial question, is we want to make sure we are focusing on where we believe that contractor is best suited and which tools and which direction there's probably going to be best for them and communicate it at their level for that. So some might be on the more simple side of things. Some might be in a little bit more mid-range as far as the tech level goes on building out their first proposal. But that's what we try to do. Maybe not on our first kickoff meeting, but at least on our first then onboarding meeting after that. Then we'll start building out or helping them or showing them or depending on their effort level, how to do their first proposal or their first estimate, whatever it happens to be.
Yeah, and they also use it as a checklist. So like just for them, even if they don't utilize all the items from those templates, for example, like they still can kind of hold themselves to this whole checklist, okay, to make sure they're not forgetting something. I have a bunch of clients who just bring in some of these templates that they built throughout the years is just to kind of see, okay, what am I missing? Because you could easily miss a couple of things and you're just at the end, like you have to pay for it or it's a change order.
Yeah, no, it makes sense, guys. That's an awesome response, and thanks for sharing that. Yeah, well, I guess one of the first things and some of the questions that we get, over on the sales side is, especially to do with verification, and sort of that's something that's added into, the Bolster flow. Could you explain to us, maybe starting with Alex, what's the process like of getting verified, and why would a contractor want to be verified in the first place?
Yeah, I was just pulling up the email here that Nadia helped us with, and it really explains why it's good that you actually become a verified contractor, right? Because then it's not only trust on our end to make sure that okay, all of our clients are actually all up to date and everything is good to go. It also qualifies them in the client's eyes. So they're like, okay, this is already a certified, verified contractor. It's good to go. I can now pay online, right? Because I think a lot of reluctance comes from other clients is okay, I don't really trust maybe this contractor or something like that. So then it helps a lot if there's a verification check mark there, and then they're presented with okay, client pay with ACH or bank transfer or credit card fees, right? And it calculates it. Like we have a channel that just shows us how many times a client is requesting our contractors to pay online. And then whenever we reach out, they're like, no, 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 I'm good with the checks, I'm good with that. And we're like, okay, that's totally fine. Just know that your clients are actually looking to pay you as soon as you send them an invoice.
So yeah, what you're saying there is, when you get verified, builds trust on our side so that we can, trust the contractor. But also, from what I'm hearing from you is, does that help the contractor, build more credibility with their clients?
100%, 100%. Especially with selections too, right? So when their client is going through the estimate, they're like, okay, all these selections are available, and I can actually go back and forth with the client. So it definitely builds a lot of trust, and also it like involves the client in that estimate, right? So
Yeah, awesome. What's been your experience, Ryan, talking about verification and how that has, helped contractors, build that trust and potentially win more jobs. Has that have you seen that in your experience with some guys?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely with the verification process. Because again, what you said, Dan, is again, we try to help out both the contractor and the homeowner. And by saying that, we do our verification process that vets a contractor to make sure they're on the up and up, right? Make sure their business license numbers and they have a proper bank accounts and all this kind of stuff. And so by doing that, not only does it put a great, nice little badge on all of their quotes saying verified by Bolster, it gives that peace of mind to the homeowner as well, saying that at least we have done our due diligence to the contractor and they are now a vetted contractor by us. Again, now homeowner is more apt to accept work by a company that's been vetted, right? That's been verified, other than a sort, quote unquote fly by night contractor, or one that doesn't mind have all the credentials in place of a professional contractor. And of course, then as a homeowner, you have a little more trust, a little more peace of mind knowing that that client has been verified.
Yeah, 100%. Amazing. That's a great response, to
Mhm.
that and why someone should get verified. And you touched on it a little bit there, Alex, about the payments piece as well. So getting verified also unlocks, this sort of payment process. How can that benefit contractors?
Uh, the main thing is for them not to have to spend time to drive out to the client's house or site, right? They save some money there, but also we're in a digital world, so it's clients are more and more looking to pay online, and it's just like going to the bank, getting a check is now a bigger process now. So clients are getting more and more comfortable that way. So.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that definitely saves a lot of time on the contractor side as well, chasing those checks
Mm.
and things like that. No, thanks for clarifying that as well. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about what to bring to that first sort of onboarding slash setup meeting. We talked a little bit about verification. Those are the sort of the two first steps on getting started. Yeah, talk to us now about I guess you know some examples of guys that you have set up, ones that have been really successful. Does anything come to mind of someone who's been that super prepared, great client, but also you've also seen them be successful in winning more jobs, and also getting everything set up correctly.
Mm. Yeah, so I just have, I mean, I have a couple, but the one that I can think of right now is out on the East Coast, this French guy, and he we had one meeting with him, or maybe two, where we went through the basics, and he spent a lot of time just working with the software between those two meetings. So where we see the most success with is um, spending time in the software between our meetings and getting your hands dirty, right? Going through, seeing what you want to build, and actually taking some time, because setting up a new software into your day to day is super important. If you skip any steps in the beginning, it's gonna always come back later on. And that's what I always tell my clients, hey, like let's set up your account in a way that in 2, 3 months you're not like, hey Alex, like what's going on here, what's going on there. It's solid and you can trust it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, what you put in is what you sort of get out of the
Mm,
software as
mm,
well. We've heard that many times, especially with guys who've been really successful.
no, no.
And we want to, I love what you said there about, they put some time outside of the meetings with you, so you're not holding their
Mm,
hand.
no,
And I think, what we want to set up these guys really well, and that's sort of your thing. But also, you want the autonomy. You want to set them up for
no,
autonomous work. So that's
no.
great to hear. What about your side, Ryan? Do you have any examples of really good clients that you've set up that are doing really well? And what have they done to achieve that?
You know what? Funny enough, you say that, Dan. But again, I think my most best contractors have been on different podcasts that you can find on our social media platforms that have done very well. And again, it was a slow build up to get to that point, right? They again learning, taking the proper steps. Again, learning as they go. Once they get more comfortable, they add more stuff to the software and whatnot. But again, customers that we've seen on here, Mangino Homes, Heritage, um, Balin Morris that we've had on here as well. Different guys that we've had on here. And again, even one that hasn't been on here, but Russell with Renault Deco. And again, they, had a plan of attack. They know what they want to accomplish, and they spent the time early on in the software to set themselves up for success later on. So again, it might take a bit of a learning curve. It might take a little bit of time. It might take a little bit of, maybe additional learning by us or into the software. But again, setting that time aside to set yourself up for long-term success. So if they got to put in a little more time early and have that nice plan of attack, and also work within your means, work within your knowledge base. Don't try to do too much. Don't try to do stuff even though the software can do it. Do what you feel comfortable with and use the modules that you can understand properly and utilize properly in your day-to-day work, right?
Yeah, and I
Yeah, that
mean,
makes sense.
it also depends on like what size of company they have, right? So if it's a smaller company, like it usually it's pretty fast to get set up, right? If it's getting into custom homes, it does take a bit more setup, but we do come across clients who are just simple estimates using the sales tools, right? And sometimes, like even Brian and I chat sometimes, like, hey, just we had one meeting with this guy and he's already sending out 5, 6 estimates, right? So it's just, I think where the fastest onboarding comes in is if a client knows why they signed up and we can kind of show them here is the direct path to that goal and
Yeah.
they actually focus on that more and more. Okay, I just want to win more jobs. Okay, how do we win more jobs? And then we jump on a meeting, we are like, okay, you can use these 3 sales tools, right? And then they actually utilize these sales tools. That's when they're actually booking more and more jobs. And then later on, once those jobs are booked, then the client can reach out, hey Alex, like how do we do scheduling, or how do we do the project management? And then from there we jump on another meeting. It's just a process there. And our goal with Ryan is to make sure that we get them to that first why as soon as possible. And
Mhm.
most of these clients, their why is I want to sell more jobs, I want presentations to look better, right? So then we just kind of try to focus on with these sales tools, and then that brings everything else with it.
Yeah, that's really cool. No, I really love that flow, having those clear mapped out goals and then yeah, reaching those together. Good to have a bit of vision, from
Absolutely.
from the contractor and yourself. And I'm glad you touched on, some of the sales tools and sales features there. Bolster being one of the only platforms out there that really helps contractors sell more, with the sales tools and the upgrades and options and things. How would you estimate that those, in a percentage format, I guess. How much would you say that's helped guys win more jobs, but also increase job size? Maybe it's a question for Ryan.
Yeah, I don't, I don't know the exact number metrics on that, but I know that what it has done is allowing selections into your quote. You're building that out pre-done. You're The number one thing I hear back from most of my contractors by them doing that is giving them time back. So again, old school construction guys like myself, if somebody doesn't want you propose something to them, they don't like that. It's always, I'll get back to you. Let me requote it if you want a different vanity or a different countertop or whatever it happens to be. I'll get back to you. Now that can drag on for days to weeks because you got to get your numbers back from your suppliers and whatnot. So now if we offer selections within the quotes, you send those out to the client. The client can take however long they want and pick their different options. Again, you don't have to go get back to them with their pricing. Their live pricing changes. So again, now as a contractor, I can send out multiple quotes and not work on them all the time. I can send quotes out to different people and I get time back in the evening. I get time back with my family and I can maybe spend more time on site if needed. I don't have to go back and re-estimate the same project 3, 4, 5 times, and I might not even get that project. Let the selections take that over for yourself and quote unquote re-estimate that project as they make the selections. Their price changes live time. They don't have to redo that for that client. whether they get the job or not, let the software handle that, right? And now, so the client, again, it might not be landing more jobs, but it gets some more freedom, more time back. Now, with that selections, number two is now a homeowner, again, now can have that interactivity with the quotes and now have that neat idea of now they can choose different prices. Okay, they can go and play with their budget. They can go through those quotes and pick this one of a different level and maybe pick a higher one and maybe still have room in their budget. They can go back and choose that higher level vanity if they needed to want and play with their selections, or maybe go above their quote or budget because they're being offered those selections and it might be advantageous for a homeowner to do that. So again, it's that interactivity showing that they can play with their budget in a very beautiful platform that then the homeowner can now make those selections, but also then, as I said earlier, gives back time to the contractor and lets the software work its magic and not having the contractor to reestimate projects all the time.
Mm.
Yeah, it's great. Alex, you
Dan,
gonna add something in?
yeah, just to add on that, for example, like for our fence clients, right? Like, um, if they send out, let's say, a chain link, and then they add an upgrade onto that for, let's say, a wood fence, they don't have to do two different estimates at two different times. They can say, okay, based on my experience as a contractor, right? I offer you this chain link because this is what you asked for. But in your area, driving down the street, I noticed that there was a lot of wood fence, right? Maybe that wood fence is better because of this, because of that, right? So then they can offer that, hey, their professionalism comes in when they're like, hey, based on my experience, here is what I would suggest. Then the clients are like, okay, maybe we don't want chain link. Maybe we want the wood fence. And that way, that interaction, going back to what Ryan said, is they're more likely to close with that because they're like, they feel like they have control over what they are getting, right? After they get the job, it's basically like, okay, now how many change orders, right? So going into something that's like a renovation or remodeling or kitchen remodel, right? Reducing the change orders by these selections, at least by 50%, right? Because you have all these upgrades on there instead of the client having to call you, hey, John, can you do an estimate for a natural stone countertop instead of a quartz? And you can just say, hey, like it's on there, just upgrade to that one, just select that and see what the cost is, right? The cost will change right off the bat, and then they can actually see the difference. So just time saving, money saving. And the other thing is with these upgrades, if you're looking at trends and clients are wanting one specific upgrade, you can actually increase the price on that trend. And then the client is like, when they see it right away, they're like, oh, okay, this is an upgrade. This looks much better. I've seen it in all social media. Maybe I want this. So then them upgrading actually makes you more money.
Yeah, that's wow, that's awesome. Yeah, it's really cool to hear, how guys are using that. I love that example you gave about fence guys as
Mm,
well. There's two things I want to chat about further to this. The first thing is, like you guys have been talking about how, you want a clear goal when someone wants to come and do a setup. Um, and as you know, we have many different packages here at Bolster. So there's a package for essentials, right, which is one end of the spectrum, one meeting with you guys. And then there's a package for premium users as well. And that includes, a time of build out, and where you actually assist them and, get some of our other guys here at the company to build out some templates for them.
mhm,
And I think, there's going to be some guys who want to know, why would I want to get premium? It sounds like, Bolster's got everything set up for me. I think, on some of those smaller packages, and you've spoken to that, is they want to put some time in themselves. What does the premium package actually look like in terms of helping them to get started faster? And does that reduce the amount of time that someone would have to spend in the platform as well and get us to do that for them? Yeah, what does that process sort of look like from your end, Ryan?
Again, yeah, a premium package, again, our best package available for these clients. And what that entails, as you mentioned earlier, is a specific build out time for, us and our team to build out something specific for you. And we say build out, that means generally we're going to be building out a proposal or template for these clients to use. Now, that doesn't necessarily um, save them time in the long run because again we still want to teach these contractors how to use the software long term, so we're not doing it for them. But initially what will happen is maybe they have a very specific template or a very specific type of proposal that really we would might not have a template for them to utilize, or again they may be it want something exactly how they like it, so we can help and assist and do that for them. So it might save that little bit of initial time to build their initial template early on, or it might be a a contractor that only uses one template and they know exactly what they want, so they want us to build it for them. That's the only one they'll use moving forward, so they don't have to build it, which would save some time. Absolutely. We could also do a multitude of other factors for that build out time. It doesn't necessarily have to be a build out time. Again, maybe a client wants us to do mass uploads of other price books they have into the software. We can utilize that time for that, or any other types of tasks that we can help them with. And those are another things I've done for clients. But what that really does is some clients are very particular of what they want, that they don't want to use someone else's template with someone else's pricing. They don't understand that maybe they can change that pricing on their own, or and they either want some exactly that they have already used, maybe from an Excel spreadsheet or another program that's exactly how they estimate, and maybe it's other people in their company are already used to that process, right? That they're used to using and seeing those same pictures and that same flow. So again, that's what a lot of people use that for and use that package for, is then we can build out something maybe that we don't have or maybe particular to them, or again, exactly what they like as well. And it would save a little bit of time early on, but again, we still want to teach them how to use the software. So if they need to do another template on their own, another proposal on their own, again, utilize the estimation software to the fullest.
Yeah, 100%. That's really cool. Yeah, I think it's like getting that kickstart, right? That they're getting,
Absolutely. Yeah,
but at the
that
same time, we're still trying to teach these guys how to fish rather than giving
good
them
thing you said
fish.
that, Dan. That's
Um,
100% that kickstart, that initial good push in the momentum. You actually get that momentum going.
yeah, 100%. How about yourself, Alex, from your side? What are your sort of thoughts on that package? And have you seen some success with some guys who are on that?
Yes, definitely. And it's mainly for that kickstart you said, right? To get these clients up to where they can actually just start focusing on the navigation, right? It also depends on the size of the company that you have, but even if you're just a one-man operation and you don't really have a set process, like if you notice that you're doing your estimating based off of your experience, oh, okay, this bathroom is about $5,000 to remove this, put in that, it's about this much, then I would highly, highly suggest the premium package, right? If you have an Excel sheet that is already built out with all the selections and everything like that, maybe even if you're a larger company, maybe an essential package is good for you too. It really depends on how what your processes are right now and how big of a change you want to go through, right? Because these new clients who are coming in, they're like, okay, I want to do this, I want to do that. You're like, okay, that also takes time because your habits are evolved around your process right now. So if you're changing your process, we have to change your habits too, right? So that way we're like, okay, we are not only working with building their templates, we're also working with that individual, learning the right habits so they can work with Bolster, right? Because those habits are essentially help you grow. And anything you put down on paper, you have data, you can actually improve it. If you don't have data put down on the table or in an Excel sheet, and we have to take it out of our client's head, right? Oh, all my estimating happens in my head, and you're like, okay, that's great that you have experience. Now let's translate that onto actual data, right? So.
Yeah, that's a great answer, man. Thank you for that. Yeah, no, I love what you said there, and yeah, I guess it depends on a few things as well. But yeah, great to hear that there's some success going forward for those premium packages. I also want to just ask about auto cost. as well. That's another feature we haven't really touched on here. We mentioned earlier about, guys who have this stuff together. They've got a price list and they've got their supplier sheets and all that. What about a guy who doesn't have that? And how does autocost help them? Does it help them at all, really, to get that together? And what's your view on that, Alex?
Auto cost, I mean, it's super good to not have to open up another page, let's say Home Depot or whatever. You can quickly search in the software. But that's also what we notice is it's more like a check-in for you because you at the end, the contractor is still adjusting the price after what they think it should be. And that's the whole idea to at least have a ballpark or a base that you can start from. And AutoCost is super, super good for that. There's a bunch of items in there that you can kind of put together. But again, I go back to navigation. If you can find those items, if you're looking for, if you search different ways, right? It's just navigation. You will be able to find those things and kind of utilize it as you go.
Great. Yeah, no, I agree with that as well. Being able to use that search functionality and find what you're looking for, definitely helps guys get something quick
Mm.
together. How about in your experience, Ryan? What's the sort of, reception been on that auto cost feature and
You
how's
know
it
what?
helped?
It's fantastic. And AutoCost does two really good things. Number one, the most important thing, in my opinion, that guys, and I say guys, but contractors purchase that package with the AutoCost feature is it's a direct integration from Bolster into, in the United States, it's Home Depot and Lowe's, or sorry, yeah, Home Depot and Lowe's, and in Canada, it's Home Depot and Rona. And if you shop at those stores for your products, it's fantastic because what that does is it brings in live updated pricing, weekly scrubbed live updated pricing into your proposal, which is fantastic if you utilize those stores, number one. But what it really does on top of that, so the pricing is one thing, but what's really nice is in your proposal, we scrub both not only sometimes the pictures and descriptions for these items that showcase really well to a client, and sometimes multiple pictures, sometimes a very long description. It all depends what's on their website. So not only does it effectively work for the contractor on the estimation side of things, but it showcases so very well to the homeowner. But number two, what it also does is it opens up another door for the craftsman labor rates. And craftsman labor rates are a national book of labor rates for different trades or types of items that could be, plumbers, electricians, HVAC, drywall, etc. And they'll know the starting labor rate of the zip code of your area of what that labor rate should be on certain items. Now, again, if you know your labor rate's fantastic, that wouldn't be for you. But again, just like Alex said, it's a starting spot. So you have an idea of what a plumber in my area would be charging per hour, or an electrician, or a tile setter, whatever it happens to be. So again, two different doors. The number one and most important and the most utilized is the direct integration with the Home Depot, Lowe's, etc. Again, they showcase really well. It's super easy to bring those items in there. You can show them off as upgrade tools. You can make items optional. Again, I really use it a lot for the fit and finish, right? Showing a vanity, the sinks, the cabinets,
Mm.
and making selections around because they're super easy to do those with and super easy to search, navigate, and add to your estimate.
Yeah, fantastic. Wow. That's such a great starting point, for someone
Yes.
who doesn't really necessarily have suppliers or maybe they don't have a
And
price list.
anybody can shop at Home Depot, right? You don't need it to be like some of these higher end people that only shop at certain wholesalers that they need an account with and all that other stuff. Anybody can walk into Home Depot and buy a vanity. Heck, I
Mm,
have, right? For
mm,
my own house, that kind of thing. And it makes life a lot easier because, again, it's updated pricing. You know
mm,
exactly as per your area that is going to be that price of that product.
mm. Yeah, I think what makes it really cool, like you just said there, it's super clear what the customer's getting, and they can actually go and view that item themselves if they want to do,
Absolutely.
and it's sort of well documented, and I think that really speaks to the power of that just from client communication.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic
Uh,
to hear.
then
Yeah.
then just to add to that, what I also ran into a couple of times is we had some clients from areas where competition was pretty good, right? So then our contractors would have to really go down to the nitty-gritty and see, okay, how much is this? How much is that? So if you're using auto cost items, you know that those prices are updating as you go, right? So then if you actually in a really competitive area, it's super useful for you because I had some clients like, okay, if I get prices for my supplier and we upload it, like, can I update it? Like, you can update it. That auto cost is gonna be automatic, right? So just staying competitive with those auto cost items, just quickly check, okay, did it go from this much to that much, right?
Yeah, 100%. So that helps them maintain that sort of
Mm.
profit or the markup that they've got on those items too with that live pricing. Yeah, really cool to hear that guys are using that. A couple of things before we hop off. I know we're running a little bit short on time, but I wanted to ask if you wouldn't mind, one of you wouldn't mind sharing your screen. I know that we've sort of covered a little bit about the premium package, a little bit of the pro there with the auto cost. I want to give some uh, good feedback to the guys who are looking at the essentials and plus packages. I understand that there are a bunch of free templates that do come with the software. If you are looking to do that work yourself. I was wondering if you wouldn't mind sharing your screen to show us what those templates look like. I think some guys are wanting kind of a sneak preview of, without getting a demo, obviously, that's the best way to see them, but a sneak preview into stuff that's already been built in the software. And how they might be able to adjust that to sort of what they're doing. So, yeah, would you one of you guys mind sharing your screen to show us
So
that?
usually what I see is kitchen being used a lot, but there's this new interior painting template that George, our product manager, built, which is also like super, super simple. You have everything there that you can do. So when you're bringing in template, you want to first look through your scope of work, right? You want to be, okay, like, what am I doing in this interior painting? You're removing instead of always looking for these things, right? So these are the two that I bought in here, and just where to find these things. Like if you go to browse catalog and just knowing like, hey, this is going to be your company catalog here, auto cost, and then bolster legacy, right? So you can either start from here, right? And just kind of bring in these approved templates, right? These are super good here. Or in Bolster, you also have like a bunch of kitchen, and this is where I basically pulled in those two, right? So as you pull in these templates here, the client will have these selections here right off the bat. You can either go through it with the client and just kind of show them all the selections, what they can choose from, right? This is kind of what I talked about here or previously on, like, this is the like the level of detail we can actually build out selections, and that way your clients can actually feel like they're a bit more involved in those. So this kitchen template is by far the one that is most used because this kind of has everything that goes into a kitchen, right? So there's a lot of things that can be used from here. And then what we see most clients do is just build on top of this, right? So they can just kind of quickly look into it, right? And if they open this up, they can be like, okay, I have development permit, plumbing, electrical, HVAC. So this is kind of the checklist that I was talking about, right? Because they're like, okay, maybe I don't have the development permit or plumbing permit because we're not doing much of that, right? So instead of you always having to look for these items or create those, you're removing items, right? So you can look into these framing here. Once you actually look through the scope of work, you then go into adding your measurements from here.
Mm. Wow, okay, that's fantastic. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, certainly a great scope of work that's outlined that anybody can really, adjust to what they're doing. And like you said, yeah, it's always good to have extra in there and then remove stuff
Mhm.
rather than having to build it from scratch. How about from your side, Ryan? Did you have anything to share?
Yeah, and I don't necessarily have to show the screen, but again, what with our legacy catalog, and that's what Alex was referring to, that's our own Bolster catalog, and we have over 600 pre-built assemblies, and from very small assemblies to very big assemblies, like that kitchen and interior painting. What's really nice about that legacy catalog of our pre-built templates is we have all the way from very simplified assemblies to very, very complex and everything in between. So if something like that kitchen one is not for a contractor because maybe they're just starting out with the estimation software, or very maybe not as tech savvy as some other ones, we have much more skeleton or very low tech ones that they can bring in, and they're a great starting spot. Now, what a lot of my contractors will do is not only bring in those as a starting spot, but again, they might bring in a template like that kitchen one, for example, and use that as an idea base, right? And see that template. Oh, I like how that is set up. Oh, I like utilizing that tool, Ryan. I want to use that, but I want to put in my own types of products in there instead. Okay. And you know, in a reference to a lot of contractors, sometimes it's easier to rip down that wall and build it up again than try to patchwork somebody else's wall. But there's no right or wrong way. We can do it either or, utilizing those templates and put in your own products, or again, just seeing that as an idea base, using that as a reference guide to build a template or a proposal, maybe with something a little more specific to that contractor, what they want to offer. But again, both work very great. But again, we have, you know, lower tech level, more skeleton templates to extremely very high tech level that a lot of contractors might find overwhelming. But again, we can get to that point where some contractors might understand that if they've used other softwares in the past, right? And that's what makes it very flexible, is that we can take any template, a client can bring that into their proposal, and it's completely customizable. You won't wreck our software, nor can you affect our master templates. They are locked down. But as soon as you bring it into your proposal, you can edit it to your heart's content, change pricing, pictures, items in the upgrades, whatever happens to be, to really dial in to what that contractor wants to showcase to their client in their proposals. And you can save it now as your own, absolutely on top of that.
Yeah, fantastic. Wow. No, thanks for that context. Means a lot. And thanks for sharing your screen there, as well, Alex. Loved, what you guys are both bringing to customers, and yeah, that makes it super clear for some guys who are thinking about making the plunge or taking the plunge into purchasing Bolster. And yeah, I think it's going to be super helpful for guys who are considering it. Yeah, I just want to thank you for your time as well. Any closing, mindset things that contractors need to be looking out for, when signing up to Bolster? What would be sort of your sales pitch, I guess, into someone who's on the fence about Bolster? Start with you, Alex.
Putting me on the spot there with the sales pitch. Well, the main thing that I would want to start with is just if you want to streamline your estimating and you want a professional way that your estimates look like, Bolster is the way. We have the simple tools that actually make your clients choose things. And I always tell that to every one of my clients, like if a client interacts with your estimate, like you have a much higher percentage of closing that client than anything else. Like your price can be high, it honestly doesn't matter.
Yeah, amazing. All right. Well, from your side, Ryan, any closing thoughts there for anyone who's
Yeah,
considering it?
definitely. And I think I said it a little earlier. The best contractors we have put in the time and effort into the software. You're only going to get you're only going to get out of the software what you put into the software. So a lot of these contractors, again, that might, get overwhelmed early or anything like that, is because they don't put in the effort. And that's what we find overwhelmingly reasons why clients don't get in the software. They expect the software to do it for them, and that's not quite the case. We want to make sure that we have accurate proposals, accurate estimates, and that's your data, your pricing in there as best as we can from experience, right? Again, having a plan of attack, having a structure in place, and we can help with all those. But again, it's the effort level and time initially early to put in the software, to learn the software and get the most out of it in the long term.
Yeah, amazing. No, thank you for that. Yeah, I think it's really encouraging to hear that for guys who are looking to do it. Thank you guys for answering a lot of questions, taking up an hour of your time, which is very
Perfect.
valuable here. And yeah, look forward to hearing the feedback from clients as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, cheers, guys. Thanks so much for
Thank
sharing.
you. Thank you. Bye
Guys.
bye.
Perfect, Dan.
All
All right.
right. We'll see you
See
guys
you guys
later.
later.